Hey guys, this is Ryan Schumacher again. For my reverse engineering project, I was interested in looking at a deodorant tube. Um, what kind of interested me in about this was it's something that I think we all use, and was just kind of curious about the mechanisms that are kind of within the actual tube itself. How does the deodorant physically, you know, maneuver up and down? So I kind of took a little bit more research into that, and I found some ideas. So I did still photos here for the most part, and I decided to use right guard. All right, so you have the picture here on the left and the picture in the middle. That is the before pictures. All right, what it looks like, and then the after pictures are all over here on the right. All right, so I'll break this down into each section here, each component. So the picture here on the left, you have the tube. It's typically made of a plastic. It's what holds the deodorant and all of the other components that are located inside of the tube. This photo on the right is the screw. This is what is allowing the deodorant to actually move up and down, and it uses a twisting mechanism that allows the other compartments to also allow the physical deodorant to move up. On this slide, there are just different photos of a little piece that's within the actual tube. So on the left here and the center left, this is a piece that's at the bottom of the deodorant tube, and it has a hole right there in the middle you can see that allows the screw to kind of get popped into there so that it allows the deodorant then to be pushed up. So this is the piece that is pushing the deodorant up, as you can see in the pictures on the left, because it has the white substance in it. I then cleaned it off on the right here, a little bit clear. You can kind of see how the deodorant is still kind of stuck there, but you can see the tube a little bit clearer here on the right picture, where the screw would then kind of get put into place and it gets locked in there, that allows it to have that mechanism to move up. In this photo on the left and the photo here in the middle, you have this piece at the very bottom of the entire container. It kind of is sitting on the bottom as a base almost, and it has these four little plastic heads. It's a little bit hard to see. I only have two in the photos here because I had to unfortunately break this to pull it out. It was a very tough to get out. And this is what kind of holds the entire container together. These little plastic heads have the screw going up to the middle. It's held in there nice and tight, and it essentially is connecting with this black piece that kind of sits right on top of these white pieces, because it has these little tubes on the sides that kind of just sit in there nice and neat. And it pretty much holds everything secure so that when you do the twisting mechanism, it allows that deodorant to go up and down in this case. Then you get into some of the more basic components. All right, you have the plastic cap here. This is kind of like a side view. This is what it looks like on the inside. Again, it's mainly just used as the cover. All right, nothing too spectacular. You have this little clear plastic covering on the left, and in the middle here, that is when you pop off that cap. You then have this that keeps it nice and fresh the first time you open it. And then obviously this is the deodorant, which actually I was surprised. That's actually, for me, it seems like a lot more deodorant than I anticipated at first. But it's essentially composed of different materials that I will get into in a little bit here. So essentially, how does the entire process work? All right, you have the tube here. All right, I took a photo from the internet here, the solid stick as an example, but it pretty much encompasses the idea of what I'm looking for. You have the white piece here at the bottom that has those two little pieces sticking up, that the four little heads would be stuck in the middle here that allow the screw essentially to go straight up through. The deodorant would stick at the top here if it was filled, and this would kind of be like that black piece that pushes it up, in this case, to the cap where you take it off. So it's a pretty simple and easy mechanism for the most part that I found out. So essentially, what's the purpose of this? All right. The purpose is pretty straightforward. It's used to eliminate, odor, but not necessarily perspiration. It essentially is turning the skin acidic, which makes it less attractive to bacteria to kind of stay on the body. All right, so this picture here shows how does it work. Our armpits create moisture, the bacteria eats the moisture and generates a smell, and then the deodorant slays the bacteria to prevent that smell. So is this inoperable? It started as operable until I had to break it apart. So for the most part, they work pretty sound. For two reasons, I thought about why would it be inoperable if I didn't break it. One, if there was no more deodorant, and two, if the mechanisms within the tube malfunction. So, if the four little heads within that piece had either broken off, there might be some wiggle room where it wouldn't turn cleanly. In this case, would it be repairable, or is it typically a throwaway? If it's pretty much inoperable, it's going to be a throwaway. I personally do not know how to repair this, or especially if you break any of the pieces, it's pretty much, washed. I will say this in terms of just being environmentally friendly about it. You want to be very careful throwing it away due to the type of plastics that the container is actually made of. We throw it away currently in our trash because many companies, depending on your local area, they don't have proper recycling for these types of containers because there's so many different plastics in this case. So if you toss it in the wrong category, it could cause some recycling contamination in any case. So we should be trying to remove the different parts actually so that it's actually up to code in this case. The shape of it, why is it that type of shape? One, it's very user-friendly. All right, it's a handheld device that doesn't take much effort. It's not overly bulky. Every single one is a little bit different depending on the buyer, but it's ultimately created to attract different buyers. The colors, the shapes, the ridges or the edges for some gripping. But essentially, it's useful for movement. You can carry it from one place to the other. You can put it in a backpack. You can put it in a purse. It's really easy to kind of move from place to place. The weight of it, I think most of us know that the weight isn't too overly heavy. All right, less weight equals easier travel, which is user-friendly for us. All right, take it to the gym, take it to a party if you need to put it on, but something easy to carry. The color, again, that's going to be different for buyers. All right, it's all about marketing. There's going to be colors that are marketable more for men. There's going to be colors that are more marketable for women. It's just a matter of what everybody kind of prefers in types of the color. I don't necessarily know if I look at the color myself of the bottle or the container, but I definitely look into like what works better than others. So I don't think color necessarily is something that I think about. But what is it really made of? What is the container? What is the actual deodorant made of? So deodorant is made of an aluminum zirconium trichlorodex. All right, it's pretty much just the active ingredient that's made of hydroxide, chloride, and glycine. All right, a little bit more scientific than I understand, but it seems it's very safe for the most part. There are some deodorants now that are not using aluminum. There's not a lot of research out there as to if aluminum is good or bad in deodorant, but there are some research out there that shows that it could affect certain things, but I won't get into that. The tube itself is made from plastics. It's polyethylene, which is pretty much just a lightweight and durable plastic, so it's allowing it to last longer, which I guess isn't necessarily good for the environment necessarily though. The ease of use, again, I said it's a twisting mechanism to move it up and down. It's a simple screw. All right, same picture from the beginning where I showed the screw going up and down, twisting in this case. The manufacturing process is a little bit more in depth than I actually anticipated, but it being made of different material, it's going to have different processes and different steps. So the first step is really called a batching process, where they are the ingredients are combined into this, I guess, stainless steel kettle, because you're essentially making the deodorant first. So you steam heat to melt them into the substance. Then you blend everything together so that the temperature is controlled, and then you kind of blend it until it's nice and neat. Then you, I guess, fill the actual packaging. So the stick packages are kind of made of the hollow tubes. Like I said, it's using an elevator platform, they call it, that moves it up and down. Some can be pushed by hand, but this one obviously uses the twisting mechanism. Then the containers move from place to place where you have this conveyor belt that I guess you fill it through a nozzle, and then it has to be filled from top to bottom. And then if it's filled too hot, the solids may settle to the bottom. If it's too cold, they'll be trapped in the stick. So it's a very precise process through manufacturing that's a little bit more dense. So the finishing operations then is step 3, where it's smoothed out, so it's nice and neat. That there are no air pockets in this case. Then you have, like, sometimes if you were to look at deodorant, it has has a hole right through the middle, just so it allows air to escape in this case. And then you have to refrigerate it so that it's becomes a solid, and then you can seal the containers in this case and then clean it to make sure that it's nice and neat. In comparison to other deodorants made by the company, they have a bunch of different ones. You have spray deodorant, you have roll-on deodorant, you have antiperspirant deodorant, and you have gel deodorant. All of them have their own, benefits and differences. All right, a spray deodorant is actually what I use. It's really quick. It doesn't have that clumping sometimes that a roll-on deodorant might have. The antiperspirant is used for body odor a little bit more. And then the gel one, I've seen gel. I don't necessarily like that one. They say it's a little bit more long-lasting, but sometimes I think it gets a little sticky, and I think sometimes, especially in the heat, it can melt just like the roll-on deodorant does. In terms of criticism, or compliments, it's so simple to use. We use it every single day. The only criticism that I have is when I use it is that it gets clumpy at times, but the actual physical mechanisms seem to work pretty well. All right, so and you might be saying, well, how are you doing reverse engineering of this? Well, one improvement that I've thought about, and I've thought long and hard about, it's something very simple, something that kind of reminded me of a pen. So one of the mechanisms, like I said, is the movement, the twisting movement of the screw. So what if instead of the twisting movement, there was just some type of button that allowed the deodorant to move up and down, kind of just like a pen. So you would click it, and then it would pop back up. Click it and pop back up. So I attached the video that you could look at that shows the example of what the pen looks like. It kind of, if I can explain in my own words, it's kind of like when you click your pen and it has these grooves inside the end of the pen where they lock into so that it stays, and then when you click that button again, it disperses that. So just something different. Maybe not necessarily an improvement, but maybe an adjustment that could be used. But it was something that I thought about that might be a little bit different and outside the box in this case. So I had a really good time trying to think this through. It's something that I never really thought about, as simple as a device this is. But it was really interesting to kind of break it down into its components. There are not a lot of components, but it is quite a process to make sure that every little piece works nice and neat. So I'm interested to see what you guys kind of create and what you guys think about the deodorant tube. And if you have any other improvements or ideas, let me know. Thanks.